I don't watch cable news, but Caitlin Collins came on the other day, and because we have this administration now that has judges' orders. In fact, right before I came on, there was a judge order that said, no, we don't agree with you freezing federal funds. And the Trump administration sued back and they wanted to uphold that. So they wanted to send that to an appeals judge, and the appeals judge said, no, I agree with this guy. So we're not freezing federal funds. And their whole mentality is, and you have the sycophants going around to all the talk shows basically saying, if he wants to ignore a judge's ruling, you ignore a judge's ruling. And Caitlin Collins is warning us that we have a constitutional crisis on our hands. Lana, you want to say something before we play the clip?
Yeah, play the clip.
All right, let's play it.
3 weeks into the second Trump presidency, 3 weeks, and tonight there are warnings that the U.S. is dangerously close to a constitutional crisis. Now, the first shoe on this dropped when a federal judge today said the White House is defying his order to unfreeze billions of dollars in federal aid, marking the first time that we've had a judge expressly accuse the Trump administration of ignoring a court ruling. And in a separate case today, federal employees here in Washington told a judge that the administration was defying another order by not reinstating workers who had been put on leave. Now, this all has prominent Democrats and many of the nation's top constitutional scholars declaring that the U.S. is on the brink of a reckoning. The Trump Justice Department says the president should have the authority to decide how to run the government and that these judges are overreaching. And some of the president's allies say the judges should not be judging any of the moves to shrink the federal government.
So that's her warning. And there are a lot of warnings. There is some encouraging things that I've heard, Lana, is that phone calls to people's representatives and senators in their states have gone up like 3,000%. Like they are bombing people, the senators and their representatives' offices with phone calls and emails and showing up and doing all this stuff, because there are enough people in this country that do understand that we do have a constitutional crisis on our hands, because we have somebody that basically said, I want to be a dictator on day one. You have somebody, a non-citizen, who's literally breaking laws, going in, looking at people's Social Security, doing all this stuff. Donald Trump has already broken the Constitution. If the House somehow, we'll get into that in a second, but we have certainly have a crisis on our hands, and we're only 3 weeks in, Lana.
Yeah, he's gonna push the court. He's like, fuck y'all. What are you gonna do to me? Like, and you have Republicans saying, whoa, he's a like, no, y'all know better. That's not how this works. If that was the case, then Biden could have went on with his loan forgiveness, and he couldn't, right? Like everything he tried to do was getting blocked in the courts. Right. And he's running around saying, I'm not going to abide by the court. What the fuck is wrong with these people? It's bizarre. It's so fucking bizarre.
The reason why Lana uses the word bizarre is because this is for our entire political lives. All we heard was from these people was the Constitution, the Constitution, the Constitution. Now all of a sudden they don't give a fuck about the Constitution, because they have they have this person in their lives that they look at as more than a president. They look at him literally as, we make fun of it, but they literally call him daddy. They say he is the second coming of Jesus. They say all this weird, bizarre stuff that is really damaging the brains of not just Americans that we don't know, but Americans that we do know. And this is just sad and pathetic and dangerous, very, very dangerous. But I was bringing up earlier, there's a slight chance, right now, if I remember correctly, the House lead for the Republicans is 2. It's at 217 to 215. And the reason why is because there are 3 people in the administration that left their House seats to go into the Trump administration. 2 of them went to the Trump administration, and 1 wound up quitting because a report came out that he was basically paying underage girls to sleep with them. But I know Elise Stefanik was 1, and I can't remember who the other one was. So there's going to be 3 special elections being held, 2 here in the state of Florida. One of them is another Floridian. I can't remember who it was. So it's 2 Floridians and 1 in New York. And if somehow, some way, the Democrats can pull off those 2 House seats here in Florida, now we have a tie in the House, with the last one in Elise Stefanik's district, which we spoke to one of the gentlemen who tried to run in that particular district, and we saw how red it was, and we know it's going to be difficult, and Matt Gaetz's district is very red. However, Iowa just had a special election for one of their state Senate seats a couple weeks ago, and it was a district that Donald Trump won by double digits, and the Democrat won in that. So if we have enough people that are hearing the alarm bells and we can flip the House before 2026, that would be gigantic.
That would really be amazing.
I think one of the big problems we're going to run into is, Elon Musk is going to throw all the money in the world at those 3 races, and it's going to be nearly impossible
and there lies the issue all the time is the money, and that's why Trump will shut his mouth and do whatever, because Elon has just money to, and it's like the system was set up thinking that white men were so honest and so great and non-criminal, right? Like, just they never thought that somebody would come, because this system was set up for you, right? Like, let's be clear, it was for white 100%. Men, right? So it's been set up, but the way it's set up, there's so many gaps, because just thought that no one would come and do these kind of things. Like, all this money being poured into that election. Like, how can he just do that? Like, how can he buy an election? That shit's crazy. That's
this is, well, first of all, because we fucked up in this country in allowing Citizens United to pass. I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg even said that was probably the biggest regret that she ever had, was to say yes to Citizens United, which is by far, I mean, it's probably in the top 5 worst rulings in the history of this country, and there's a case for it to be named number 1. And obviously the overturning of Dobbs, all that stuff could be up there, but without I think if we didn't get rid of Citizens United, or if we didn't allow that, then we wouldn't be having the issues of fighting, the Dobbs decision and all the stuff that we're seeing now. You're right. I mean, the system's always been set up, for the white man. It's always been set up for, for them to succeed. And time has gone on, and there have been definitely strides to be made. But at the end of the day, there's still a large contingent out there that still thinks that, this is all should be run by us. And, if it's not, because you saw, I mean, this is what sparked Donald Trump to run for president, because Barack Obama won, and it drove him fucking insane.
It drove the MAGA insane too, right? And this is just a tip off, because, DEI is literally whites only. And I saw somebody have that picture and did a tweet today with the picture of like someone black looking at a job in a window and says something like whites only. That's really what is happening. Like, I don't know, stop sleeping, wake up, because that's part of what's going on here. It's like they do not want any person of color, probably no women either, to get any of these jobs, any jobs for that matter. That's why they're saying to companies, it is okay if you discriminate. They cannot sue you anymore. We've taken that away. The only people that can sue are white people. If they feel like they're being discriminated against, they can sue. But there's no recourse anymore for us if we feel like we're getting overlooked for promotion. We're just not going to get fucking promotions anymore. Like, that's how this shit is about to work. I just read like how the military goes and they have like their career days or how they try to get people to come in. So I guess there's like a top Black engineering school, like it's elite, that they normally go to try to get, you know, people from this engineering place to enlist. They're not going because they're not clear if that would fuck with Trump's executive order with no DEI. How the fuck does that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's anti-Black. Like, it's just literally anti-Black. Just no thing. You just say DI, and it's like, okay, I can't hire you because you're Black. Like, it's crazy right now. And
well, let me tell you why why when you hear white people talk about it, now Lana talked about it because she's a Black woman and it affects her community. But the white people who talk about it, you notice that they only associate DEI with color, even though DEI is way more than just color. So, but you only hear them talking about it when they're talking about, I don't understand, why should somebody not of color not get a job when they also equate it with being more qualified. The only reason why the Black person got it is because they're Black, not because they're qualified. And they don't understand it, and they only associate it with just giving somebody a handout, just like they've always said back in the old days when it came to what was the Ronald Reagan always used the term welfare queen. Using those kind of terms just to spark the anger in the white person. And that's what we're seeing again in this country. And it's very fucking sad.
It is sad because one, the white women are the biggest recipients of welfare.
By far.
And
DEI.
Yeah, and DEI. So but DEI covers, like Brian just said, handicap placards, handicap spots.
Yep.
Braille on the elevator if you need Braille, like all inclusive. Like, it's so people don't get left out. If blind people need to get on an elevator, they need Braille. They're not being left out and not able to tell which floor they're getting on. Those stop signs, you ever walk and it's telling you like stop at, when you're walking across the street, It talks to you because of the people who cannot see. Like, so these are the things, this is all inclusion, but they do it on purpose. They want you to equate it with Black because that's how they get to anti-Black, because that's the biggest part of what they want to stop, right? They don't necessarily want to stop handicapped people from parking. Those aren't the target. The target is the people of color that they think are taking their jobs and making them have to work more hard because they do want it to get. This is a white supremacist movement. We can't get away from that. We have to keep talking about that because it really is. Like, there's no doubt about it. Every move that they are making is bringing us back to that place. It's friggin' Hegseth running around saying, what army base can I rename Bragg? Like, that, it's on purpose. It's waking up, and it's like the Army and the Navy web page has removed women from, from the web pages, like their history, but they put it back because of like the uproar. But it's gonna happen again. It's gonna happen.
I'll say one of the most frustrating things, Lana, is that you're also talking to a bunch of people nowadays who just think that something like DEI just started over the last few years, and that tariffs just started over the last few years, and that transgender people just started over the last few years. These are things that have been around for decades, and now all of a sudden everybody's got an opinion about how it should work and why it should work and why it shouldn't work and why this person this. It's just, everything is just so fucking out of control, and it's so fucking annoying right now. But all right, next subject. But before we go to the next subject, Baby Juggernaut has joined as well. Thank you so much, Baby Juggernaut, for joining. It's always great to see you as well. Angel says, or they want to rip up the Constitution. Well, that's clear. They don't give a shit about the Constitution anymore. Baby Juggernaut says she's mad at the NFL. Was pretty chicken shit to take down the end racism sign. I completely agree. Like, what was why?
It didn't matter.
Why?
It didn't matter. Kendrick gave the message.
Yeah.
They didn't need those signs. I would rather Kendrick performing and giving us the message that he gave us than a stupid sign by far. So we good with not having those fucking signs there. They let Kendrick perform.